With all the other extraction shooters out there, in its current state, is Marathon worth playing? At this time, I probably have around 3 to 4 hours total playing time, playing both solo and with a crew, and these are my first thoughts, first impressions. I definitely think you should give Marathon a go right now during the server slam because it's absolutely free, you don't have to pay anything, and you can see for yourself if you like the game. Let's talk about the things that I do like first before hopping into everything else. I think the overall core gameplay and base functionality of the game is really, really good. The movement, the gunplay, the abilities, but I can't argue, the abilities might get annoying down the line once people start to learn how to use them a bit better. The servers, at least on my end, have been running very, very well, very smooth, haven't had any issues, any interruptions with the servers, and I think having the different factions with the contracts and the skill trees gives the game more replayability, and I think the game has a lot of potential. I really do want Marathon to do well because I enjoy Arc Raiders. One, it not only gives me another game to go and play, but if there's competition in the extraction shooter space, that'll make both games better. So let's just start things from the top. When you first boot up the game, you're loaded in to this main menu screen with your character standing or your runner shell standing in the middle. The screen overall looks fine, but the UI, the best way I can put it is that it looks like there's so much going on, but there's really nothing going on. Now, I don't know if this is just the vibrant colors and the design choices, or if it really does come down to accessibility and user experience. I am not a huge fan of the UI layout. I know I've seen some people online talk about the UI of the inventory and looting system. We're not even getting into that part. I think the UI and looting system in all extraction shooters are kind of going to be a little similar or the same. We're talking about the menu system when you first boot up the game, the main lobby menu. I think this could just be streamlined and look so much better. For example, I know I'm going to be comparing this to Arc Raiders a lot, but it's just the biggest game, it's the one I've been playing the most, and they're both extraction shooters. I don't want them to be the exact same game, but I think from a menu standpoint, Arc Raiders does very well. You can cycle through the menus, select what you need, and get out. So you can get yourself back topside, back into the actual gameplay of the game. Whereas cycling through Marathon's menu system, there's not really a whole lot to cycle through. However, the way things are presented provides for a weaker user experience. Now, I do want to say this is just my first thoughts, first impressions. My opinions and thoughts may change because I'm still going to continue to play it over the weekend. But as of right now, this is how I feel. The menu system in its current state isn't a deal breaker, though. It's just something that it would just make the game a lot better from a user experience if the menus and the options and the UI was presented to you a little bit more clearly. One last thing I'll touch on, the UI. Marathon released this cinematic short film trailer, probably, I don't know, I think like a year ago now at this point. I thought it was one of the best cinematic trailers a game has ever had. I thought it was so good. And that is what they should have opened the game with. You turn on the game for the first time, it should have played you that cinematic trailer. But instead, it feels like it's almost like forcing this lore onto you. For example, you go into these factions and every time you level up a faction or you open up a new faction, it's constantly showing you these little clips. And so far, everybody that I've seen play the game has immediately skipped everything the person says every single upgrade. Now, don't get me wrong, there's probably a good amount of people out there that do watch all the cinematics in the game, but it just seems that they're a little too abundant. And I think this again comes from the fact the way the information is presented to you. Not that the cinematics are bad or trying to push the lore of the game is bad. I don't think that at all. I just think it's the way everything is presented to the player. Now, with Marathon being an extraction shooter, the point is to go in, loot up, and extract. However, I think there's way too many just, I guess you could say, junk items you can pick up off the ground or in containers that just get auto-sold at the end of the round, which I think is an amazing feature, by the way. Auto selling, that if you can't use it for anything but money, beautiful that it just sells it for you. But at that point, why not just make it so you can find credits on the ground, in containers, on the shelf? Why does it have to be 10 to 20 different items that all do the same thing? Because right now, I know, day 2 of the server slam, still getting used to all the different things you can pick up and what you should pick up, what you should leave. It just seems like a lot of unnecessary clutter items that you can pick up. And with extraction shooters being RNG heavy, a lot of the times you're going to find those junk items rather than something actually useful. And in a game like Arc Raiders, I don't think this would be much of a problem. However, a game like Marathon, where you have cores, implants, shields, equipment, weapon attachments, and so many other modifications that you can do to your runner, I really don't think there should be a lot of clutter items. Yes, you should still be able to find craftable items or items used for your skill trees inside of the factions, but if we're having 10 to 20 items taking up those loot spots when it could have just been one spot for credits, I really don't think that's a good idea. Make the looting part of the game more meaningful, because at the moment it does seem like there's a lack of lootable items, at least from what I've noticed. But we'll touch on that a little bit later. Let's hop into the actual gameplay. You got your loadout set up, where most people are probably just running sponsored kits right now, but you start your game. Right off the bat, you can't even exfil. You have to wait a certain amount of time before the exfils open up, which I don't think is horrible. It's 5 minutes, I believe, from the start of the game, and I think at the 20-minute mark is when those exfils pop up. There are 2 exfils that pop up at a time. If somebody uses that exfil, that's it, it's gone. I personally do not like that at all. I do agree it probably gets rid of those extract campers, because the extracts aren't always in the same place every single game. They can pop up in different places. I haven't played enough to know if it's like a set of different places, like maybe it can spawn in location 1, 2, or 3. I don't know. Maybe it is just completely random. I don't like the fact that there's only 2 that pop up at a time, and if someone uses it or a team uses it, you and your team are just out of luck. Gotta wait till the next set. Because in Arc Raiders, I kind of like the fact that I know, like, oh, okay, I have 10 minutes until this extract closes. I know exactly where it's at. I don't have to look on the map. I don't have to ping it. I know where I'm going. I think the overall map design is pretty good. It does give a little bit of Apex vibes to it, but I just feel as though as I'm playing right now, the maps feel a little dead or abandoned. But that might also be inside for the lore of the game. So if you're not sure, a brief description of what's going on here in Tau Ceti 4, which I believe is the planet we're on. So humans are living on Earth and Mars, and they sent a ship of people out to Tau Ceti 4 to live. And this is beyond the point of those people living. I believe they've all perished or left, and these runner shells are going in to pick up whatever was left behind. So it's supposed to kind of feel dead and abandoned in a sense, but I think the atmosphere and like you walk by certain machinery or certain buildings, you can just hear the wind and like it creaking off the buildings or the machines, like everything. It just makes it more so feel a little dead and abandoned. Yeah, you definitely have the hot spots with the UESC, which I think in some cases are a little overpowered. Like the recruits or the grunts, whatever you want to call them, super easy to handle. But when you get to that mid tier or that commander tier, they're a little much. At least for the guns that you have at the beginning of the game. And it's not like, oh, you can just avoid them like you avoid the Ark. Nope, nope, nope. They will detect you like 50 meters away, even if you're crouching. Let's say you do make it past the UESC to loot an area. I found it that there's not really a whole bunch of items to actually loot. There's a lot of items that look like you should be able to loot them, but you just can't. I don't know why. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that to keep you moving from building to building to building, but even if you're supposed to move from building to building to building, you don't really run into a lot of other runners or players. The most I found in a single game of solos was 3 other people. And just let you know, if you're coming from Arc Raiders, this is pretty much like 95% of the time is going to be on site. People aren't talking. And part of the problem is it's a hold prox chat. You have to hold the button to proximity chat. You can't just toggle it, which definitely needs fixed out. That you can't have a hold, especially on controller. I can't be holding down on the D-pad, trying to move, trying to aim. So I think if they can bring a little bit of life to the game, to the maps, I think it would add a lot to the game. But as of right now, the most fun part of the game is fighting the other players. So I took 5 or 6 runs in a row yesterday. I didn't even loot a single thing. I just spawned in, immediately took off to where I knew the other people could possibly be spawning, and took them out. The gunfights and the gunplay is very fun. I know I've seen a couple people online saying it's mid, but I think it's definitely a highlight of the game. And the game has a ton of potential. It's all there. It just needs to present things to the players a little bit better. I don't know exactly how many people spawn in the map at a single time. Somebody told me that it was 16. I don't know if I believe that, especially when you're playing with people. I played in a team of 3, a team of 2, And then also solos, I've seen the most people while playing solos. Whereas if you're playing with a team of two, I've seen two teams, and I'm playing with a team of three, I've only ever seen a total of one other team. I'm not exactly sure the number of people on the map at a time. It may need to be increased. And it seems as though I haven't tried the Rook out yet, but I've started at the 25-minute mark every single game, which I believe is the start of the game. The overall gameplay, the potential loop and functionality and replayability of the game is all there. It's right on the cusp. They just need to cross that line, take that next step up. And I really, really do think they can get there with this game. I just think they need to dial back on the number of junk items that you can actually loot, which would make the items that you are finding a little bit more valuable. And then you also have like shields and cores and implants, weapon attachments. Like there's just so much to loot, which is why I don't think you need those junk items that are just worth money that are going to be auto sold. So if you're more of a casual extraction shooter player, Arc Raiders is definitely going to be the game for you. If you're more of a hardcore sweaty player, you may gravitate to Marathon, especially if it keeps continuing to get better and better over the years because of how much there actually is. Like I said, the cores, the implants, and everything else you can modify on your runner shell, plus all the different attachments you can modify on your weapons, and the abilities you can use as a runner. It's a lot more involved. It's a lot higher of a learning curve than it is with Arc Raiders. But again, the potential is there. I want both games to do well, so that way I can play either game. I'm going to enjoy both the games. Both games are going to continue to get better over time because they're pushing each other in the same realm of game of an extraction shooter to make each other better. But these are my current thoughts. Like I said, 3 to 4 hours into the game, and I've definitely had fun moments. But I've definitely had moments of like I don't really know what's going on. Like I said with the UI, it seems like there's a lot going on, but in reality, there's not really anything going on. But who knows? The more I play, the more I might enjoy it, the more I learn. Let me know your thoughts right now on Marathon. Do you guys like it, not like it, whatever it may be? If you guys are enjoying the videos here on the channel, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and bell for notifications. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening to me rant or just talk about my thoughts on Marathon. And I'll catch you guys right back here in the next one. Peace out.